This podcast is proud to be part of the talkSPORT Fan Network. talkSPORT. Powered by fans.
Danilo's free. And it goes to Gibbs wide.
First time we've seen them attack them, and there's Brandon! Well, that's what I wanted to see Robinson do. Taylor one, he scores! And the sticky ground goes ballistic!
Here's Bob Williams. He's through here! And in the end, Forest will say it doesn't matter how you play as long as you win it.
Yeah! Forest Style Premier League!
Hello and welcome to this preview edition of Red Side of Trent as we look ahead to Nottingham Forest's Saturday kickoff game with Everton, which is a 5:30 kickoff. Middle of what my words there. Anyway, I'm delighted to be joined by Jay from the Paddock Blues Podcast. Hello, Jay. How you doing? You all good?
I'm all right, thank you. Thanks for having me on, mate. Yeah,
No worries. Many thanks for coming on. I suppose there's no other real place to start when it comes to Everton, really, than the recent news about the 10-point deduction. I guess first and foremost, I mean, aside from the inevitable anger, I suppose, were you sort of blindsided by this? Did you sort of think that this would be too extreme a punishment? Did you sort of see anything coming of this magnitude? Sort of talk me through your sort of thought process towards around the whole thing.
We knew we'd done wrong. I think we all knew as an Everton fan base there was a punishment coming. Obviously, you know the world of social media now. You hear different rumours: 12 points, a fine, a suspended sort of point deduction. I don't think anyone can prepare you for what that feels like. Obviously, we're the only club at the moment to have that sort of penalty at that high magnitude. It was just a crazy Friday. It seems always to be a Friday with Everton. Honestly, I think I've seen it. It was quite good, actually. I've got to give props. Everton are the only team to lose points on an international break. So just, that's what it felt like. I've got to be honest, really, Christy. Honestly, it was just, we built that gap between ourselves and Luton, and it just felt like you were just getting pulled back down again. Like you finally got out the hole, and this big arm just comes and pulls you down. If it was anger originally, it was shock, then it turned into sort of anger towards the Premier League and also towards our own club for the way they've actually let this happen. I think we can't forget that this is purely for the fact that Everton have done wrong. I just think it was such an overreaction punishment to have that. I really do think it was so bad, and it's just left not the club in tatters. I wouldn't say it was in tatters because we're united. I've got to be honest, we're more united than we've ever been. It just felt like we'd been volleyed again everywhere. We're used to that, but that felt like a big one.
No, I can imagine. I mean, it was it's been a bit of a weird season for Everton. Obviously, I know it started very badly with 3 defeats in a row. But, I mean, with the exception of the Villa game, in which Everton did look really bad, generally speaking, you've looked all right. It's just like not been taking your chances. So it did feel that a good run of form was coming at some point. And naturally, that did happen fairly recently, obviously, taking 10 points for a possible 12 and shooting straight up the league. Only to have that ripped away, of course, but yeah, it's typical. But surely does that give you some sort of confidence, though, that you can actually just battle away? You're in a much better place than you were last season, and even though it's a little bit scary, you still could be all right.
Yeah, obviously, you probably yourself, you always sort of take comfort in pundits and what they say in the world of football, and where people go, everything will be fine, they'll get out of it, especially other fans, everything will be all right. And we will, given that, I think if they'd have took the point after the Luton game, we'd have been gone. Just purely for the fact that it was, as you mentioned there, the start of the season was so bad. If they'd have done it before this little run, they just decimated everyone because there was no light at the end of the tunnel. But now where that sort of little run gave us a little bit of light, give us something that we can hang on to and go, well, no, look how good they've been playing. So, yeah, it does sort of give us a little bit more hope that we can get out of this, and especially the fact that there's, in my opinion, 3 worse teams. Whether that'll sort of come to fruition, that they are actually worse than us, we'll find out.
No, I would be confident that it would. I would also be semi-confident that I don't think that 10 points will stick. I think it'll probably be, if worst case, be reduced to 6. I can't see it staying for the whole season. I know the appeal's gone in now anyway, but obviously that's away from the pitch. But by that point, I wouldn't be surprised if Everton were long. I mean, we said it on our pods. I mean, obviously, it's like after a loss, aren't you? You're naturally more despondent than you could be normally. One of our co-pod hosts said that he wouldn't be surprised if Everton were above Forest by Christmas, the way they're playing. So, I think the wider scale of football, like you said, is can see what Everton are like and think they'll be fine. But what's Dyche's done differently this time around? Is it because he's had more time with the club to sort of get his methods across? Because you look it's not obviously Everton more solid, but you now look like a much more of a threat going forward. It's just not taking your chances, it's killing you.
Yeah, as you said before, at the beginning of the season, Fulham at home, Wolves at home, you were always coming out the ground furious because you've been beat, but more for the fact that the way you get beat, sometimes you can come out the ground and get beat because you're just not a good footballing team. When you come out and you think, if we'd have just scored them 2 chances, we'd have won. I think that's worse sometimes. I think that can hurt a lot more. So it did feel like it was just about to click. And sort of, he did have us solid at the back. Now, listen, he started the season with Michael Keane. Now, I'm pretty sure from afar you can see Michael Keane isn't liked at Everton. Not that he's not liked, but as a footballer, especially when you've got Jared Brandtwaite. So all these little things were happening at the beginning of the season. We were trying to get him out the team, saying, why is he still in there? John McCarvert-Lewin weren't playing. We never had Beto to come in. Beto only come in before the Doncaster Rovers game, which is sort of where it started all turned. It never turned on that game, but that was the game if you go right back. So I do think lot's happened. We've had a few injuries to come back as well. But he seems to have brought and you'll know what I mean with being a Nottingham Forest fan, but he seems to bring an identity back to Everton, which is very Everton. It's a aggressive sort of let's make these beat us. We're under Lampard, and I won't mention the fella before him. He's like Voldemort, and he doesn't get spoken about. We were soft. We had a soft underbelly. We were just easy to beat. We'd go 1-0 down, and it was this is going to be 3 or 4. Where I think under Dyche, we created that hardness of, all right, we'll use a score, but we're still going to go and try and keep trying to score goals. And I think really that's what he's brought. And the fans have bought into that as well, which is massive. Listen, no one really people wanted Lampard out, but we knew what was above Lampard. It was more important to get the people above Lampard out than actually Frank Lampard.
Yeah.
At that time, where Dyche now hasn't got that. We're all just looking at him going win football matches. I've got to be honest, he come under a lot of pressure at the beginning of the season, especially myself. I'll hold my hands up on this channel now and say, I think it was the Bulls game. I actually wanted them out. And now, there's many football fans with egg on the face. I've got an omelette on my face at the moment because I just, honest to God, I wanted them gone. I couldn't see nothing. But he's proved me wrong, as every football fan gets proven wrong throughout their life. He's proved me wrong, and it's fantastic what he's doing up to now. I feel sorry for the man. I genuinely do feel sorry for the man. He's turned this round, and look what's happened.
Yeah, I think there is a general sort of outpouring of sympathy to him. He looked like yes, he's turned a clear corner. Everton sort of moving safe towards, I think after last season and the stress of the final day, if someone said to you, oh yeah, you'll be on Costa mid-table about 5 games to go, you'd been like, yeah, great, slap your hand off. And it just seemed like he had you sort of pointing to that trajectory. And then obviously this has all happened now since. But I also agree with what you said about losing games, because we've had it this season several times. Like we've scored twice in a game, I think 4 times this season, and not won any of them. So it's sort of like, obviously, I think those games especially. I think I'm referring to United, Brighton, West Ham, and Luton especially. Scored twice in all of those games and came away with nothing. You're leaving the ground. You're almost more frustrated because you've done enough to get in that position. You've not capitalised on it. Yeah. So, yeah, I know what you mean. It's almost worse if you play but well and lose sometimes. But I've got to ask about Jared Brandtwaite actually, because I know obviously he came back from PSV Eindhoven and he looks absolutely brilliant. I mean, What's your sort of thoughts? Because I know you've had a lot of good centre backs previously. Obviously, John Stones and Joe Nescott both went for big money. Do you think he can maybe sort of follow that path? Or are you sort of hoping to keep hold of him a little bit longer?
It's a hard one, that, Christian, to be honest, because I'd love to keep Jared Branthwaite, of course I would. He reminds me of John Stones. Can we? We're in a financial mess. We've had 10 points taken off us. We're selling all our assets. There's Charlison has gone. Andy Gordon went. Less said about him, the better, actually. But Jared Branthwaite is someone that could captain Everton Football Club. Simple as that. Could easily captain Everton Football Club into that new stadium. Will he? I don't know. The way he's playing, captain the 23s. The next step is probably an international cap. Then he's obviously got the eyes of Europe on him then. And obviously he was at PSV, but I think that's just PSV's loan scouting doing what they do.
Yeah.
I think Jared Branthwaite's got a massively bright future. I just really hope it's with Everton and we can give him that.
No, I know exactly what you mean. It's always terrifying, isn't it? You get like a great player sort of coming through, and you think it's great, another one, and then obviously like the vulture starts circling pretty much imminently. It's quite soul destroying in one aspect, but I suppose this is where clubs like us are, I suppose, really. But I mean, going back to, you're sort of looking at your form. They've got some big wins this season. Obviously still in the cup, which is quite exciting. I know, obviously, I know it's only the League Cup, but it's still.
I'd take it.
Absolutely, yeah. You go as far as you can with it. But, you look at. It's generally looking all right. Like, obviously, on that road, you won at Villa. Won at Brentford's. It does really feel like Dyche has got something going, even in my. And obviously, we saw Old Trafford. Obviously, incredibly unlucky to get stung by a goal like that after 3 minutes. you can't account for that as a coaching staff or as a fan, can you? But it did seem that even despite that, I think the thing for me is that even with Calvert-Lewin up front, you're still maybe guilty of missing chances. Would you say that's a bit of a weakness for you at this moment in time?
Oh, 100%. I think going into the half-time on Sunday, we could have been 3-1 up. We genuinely could have been 3-1 up, and I think at that point you kill Manchester United. I know this isn't a Man United channel, but they're no good. They're not great shakes. They're really not, and they were there for the taking, which is more frustrating again. Obviously, Ashley Young gives that penalty away, which is a penalty. It's as simple as that. But it's so frustrating when you come away from the ground and you think, if we'd have just scored them 2 chances, we'd have been 2-1 up and the game changes. I know that's football, and I understand that, but to have that as a consistency is worrying. If it's 1-2 games a season, 3 games a season, you go, okay, yeah. But we're near Christmas and it seems like every time we get beat, we should have really drew. If that makes sense, it's probably only Aston Villa where you go, yeah, they battered us there.
Yeah.
And Liverpool, which again has got controversy
even the
in the
game. You're quite unlucky. You had 10 men for a good half hour. It's only on the counter attack they stung you for the seconds.
Exactly.
It's for the first. So
it was only Aston Villa really that you sort of go, well, yeah, they battered us. And they've been doing that a lot. Listen, I don't think it's any disgrace getting beat by Aston Villa at the moment. So
no,
I really do worry the fact that we can't put the ball in the net. You've got a number 9 who've been desperate to get back in. Seems a bit off it. For me personally, he took his goal well against the West Ham. Fantastic goal, but he's got to score them 2 headers on Sunday. He really has. Is your number 9? The guy, your Haaland's, not comparing him, but that's who they look at. I forget your number 9. And I do know him.
Awani,
yeah, that's it, sorry. You look at him and go, you go and score the goals. If Alanga scores one or gives White, it's a bonus, but we're looking at you to score the goals. I think that's what Calvert-Lewin's next step is, to go, right, well, I'll take the game by the scruff of the neck and I'll make sure I'll score 2, 3, 1, even to win the game.
No, I know what you mean. It's just sort of taking, like they say, it's taking authority, isn't it? Leading from the front almost.
Yeah.
I suppose at least it isn't Neil Maupay anymore, which by all means is a bit of a disaster. Football club.
Man.
Okay,
We should have been, to be honest, we deserve 10-point deduction by signing Neil Maupay, really.
One of my mates is an Everton fan, and he was saying, like, you know, after he came out of that outburst recently, it was like, it was bad enough for us watching you, let alone you playing. Like,
I did see something
honestly.
where someone, you know, Scouse sense of humour, I suppose, but he put, didn't he, you know, I didn't really feel comfortable, and it was the players, the staff, the fans didn't make me feel comfortable. Someone commented and put, well, a mission accomplished then, because I just, honestly, God, listen, he was brilliant at Brighton. Well, wouldn't even say he was brilliant at Brighton. He's just a good player. Yeah, it was just good. It was okay. It just hit him and went in. But Neil Maupay was just
Shocking.
Yeah. If the Premier League had come out and said, yeah, we're deducting your 10 points for signing Neil Maupay, Yannick Bolasie and Morgan Schneiderlin, we'd have probably have all gone, yeah, all right.
Don't forget Rondon as well.
Oh, Rondon. He's a hero, him. He's better than Neil Maupay.
Yeah, he probably is.
He was, yeah.
About it. I suppose as well, I mean, you sort of touched upon it earlier, this like new era for Everton with a new stadium. I mean, how do you feel about the move? Like, do you think it was something that was needed, or are you sort of quite sad to say goodbye to Goodison? How do you sort of,
It's sad. Of course, it's sad that you've been on my home for 31 years. It's been Everton's home for 100 years plus. It's sad. It's needed. You know, you've got to step into the modern world of football now. You look at the likes of Tottenham and Arsenal, Manchester City, even West Ham when they got the London Stadium. Manchester United screaming out for a new stadium, biggest club in the world, still desperate for a new stadium. Liverpool put extensions on theirs. They don't build them, they just put extensions on. And I just think we needed it just to attract a different sort of clientele. No, that sounds daft, but you go to Goodison, you've got your normal Goodison goers, if you like, the Everton fans. But I think if you want to get that investment, you've got to be in a new shiny stadium. And for any investor looking at Everton, hopefully there's still a Premier League club on the River Mersey, shiny new stadium that you can sort of entice with the Euros as well. It might be a dream for an investor, and hopefully she'll make our dreams come true as well.
I guess the example, West Ham's a good example. I mean, we went just a couple of weeks ago, and like it wasn't. I didn't enjoy the obviously whenever you lose a game, you don't enjoy the experience. But it's just one like obviously I know it's been sort of retrofit to be a football stadium, and obviously yours is designed to be a football stadium, so it's a little bit different. But like you sort of look around, and it's sort of like, you know, is it worth selling your soul for a trophy, I suppose? But then again, they'll look at the growth and the revenue they're getting as a club, and you're right, from that aspect, it's a step in the right direction to grow. But I guess
I think as well, just to ask you, because similar club, similar ground, really. I think yours is a little bit newer. Well, it's a lot newer. If obviously an investor was to come into Nottingham Forest now and say, right, I'm going to build a brand new stadium there, I think most Forest fans, and correct me if I'm wrong, would probably go, yeah, okay.
I think no. I think we'd mostly be pretty mortified. So one of the things that our owner's done at the minute is it's been going on for like 4 years now. We're trying to upgrade our main stands to like make it 35,000-36,000. Because obviously at the minute demand is like, you know, every game sold out like weeks in advance, because everyone wants to. It's Premier League football for the first time in a quarter of a century, give or take. So everyone wants to go. But I think by and large it's sort of like that's a part of our identity. That's a part of our soul. We don't want to lose that. So that's why I sort of asked you, because I know obviously Goodison's been, like you said, they've donkey's years, isn't it? So it's sort of move away from that's quite sad in a way. But I suppose it is, like I said, a big bold step forward, and hopefully one that can, like you said, be a Premier League club at the time of doing so. Yeah. But obviously looking ahead to Saturday. So the last time we played at the City Grounds, I thought we played it twice last season. We're both draws. Obviously, one with Lampard, and both in very different circumstances with Lampard and Dyche. But one of the things that caught Forest out last season was, I can still remember the Peter's goal now, was the second goal. Obviously, the first, you can't really count Shelby being the clown that he is, giving a penalty away like that. Yeah. That's why he's not at the club anymore. But the second one was it a free kick? I think it was 2 or 3 consecutive headers that Everton won before putting the ball in the back of the net. And it's a staple of Dyche's teams, isn't it, to be good at set pieces, and obviously we're not good at set pieces at this moment in time. Do you think that's a potential area of exploitation for Everton on Saturday?
Yeah, he does use set pieces a lot, Sean Dyche, especially with your likes of your Jared Brandwaite, who, just to scare you, hasn't scored for Everton yet this season. He has scored last season against, the season before against Chelsea, but this season hasn't scored. Tarkowski, Decore, Anana if he's fit. These are big footballers and if you get the delivery right with Jack Harrison, McNeil or Garner, then it's always a threat. To be honest, going forward, we've actually been a lot better on the counter-attack, sort of with Decore pushing right up, especially away from home. It's night and day difference is crazy. From at home to away from home, Decore so far up the pitch next to Calvert-Lewin. He's basically playing as a two with Calvert-Lewin, and I think that catches a lot of teams out. So, where last season, obviously, we were dependent on corners, free kicks. I think, our leading goal scorer was Dwight McNeil, but that's, I think, because of the Brighton game. Yeah, I think there was a stat that Yerry Mina had more goals than Calvert-Lewin. So what does that tell you? But I think it's a different sort of Everton that are going to turn up. Not to say it's going to be a Manchester City Everton, but I mean, there's like where if Nottingham Forest will stop getting them corners and they'll be all right. When we're a different sort of team, we can actually play on the ground, which is crazy to say for a Sean Dyche team, but we actually can.
I do feel, to be fair to Dyche, I mean, his Burnley team that got into Europe, you can't do that just by playing Route 1. So there is obviously a bit more sort of annoyance to his game, I think, which sort of goes a bit under the radar. But
I think as well, he finds ways to win, it's crazy. Yeah, it's really like where Frank Lampard had his philosophy, and this is how we were going to play, which no one knew, but I don't even think he knew, the poor fella, but he didn't know how to sort of win football matches, Frank Lampard, and it was very much, I'm going to pick this 11 and I'm going to hope to God they've listened to what I've said and go and win. Where Sean Dyche is, right, well, if these set up a certain way, you know how to deal with it. If these do this, we know how to deal with it. If this player doesn't play, we know how to do it. I think he doesn't just have a plan A, he has plan A, B, C and D, and all of them point towards Everton winning. So I think that is very much like a David Moyes as well. David Moyes, I think he's got that. So I think that having that in his arsenal is a really good weapon for our players, the squad we've got, and the club we are.
No, he does seem super meticulous. John Dyche, absolutely, very, very organised. But you mentioned a player there, obviously close to our hearts, in Jimmy Garner. How have you found his development? Because I know obviously last season he didn't have the best of times, he was in and out of the team with injuries and whatnot. And obviously when Dyche came in, he started playing as a right back, which we found quite confusing. But since he's been pushed back into his natural position in the midfield, he looks the player that we all thought he could be. But what have you made of him?
We love him. We love him here, yeah. When he first come, obviously, it was under Lampard, and it was a mad time, to be honest. So it wasn't someone that you could just throw in, obviously, because of what was happening around the club and the predicament we were in. It wasn't just someone like, going straight into the team. And he did obviously pick a few injuries up. Start the season, he's playing right wing. It was like, what? We honestly didn't know what was going on. Makes more sense now with Jack Harrison coming into the team, where it's like Dyche sort of wants someone who can put the ball in the box, simply put the ball in the box, and I think James Garner was our best option there. He's come into midfield and he's rejuvenised another player in Onana. Now, Onana was so sort of inconsistent. We'd get one game, we'd think we had the next Yaya Toure. Then we'd think he'd have another game and we'd think, oh my God, who is this lad? Honestly, it was a mad one. James Garner sort of is taking pressure off of Onana. Basically to say, don't worry, I don't know if you noticed this, but he reminds me of like a Gareth Barry. Now, not as in defensive work, but his calmness on the ball.
He's a very calm influence midfield, Garner, we noticed that, Yeah,
it's very much, when we had Idrissa Gueye and Gareth Barry, it was very much Idrissa Gueye win the ball, give it to Andre Gomes or Barry at the time, and they'll play. And I think that's the way James Garner is in our team. He'll drive the team forward, but he can also win the ball and just play it. He's a really good. He's a steal. We just hope Man United don't exercise that clause.
No, we noticed that as well. He looks quite slight, Garner. He looks like, he doesn't look the strongest, but he's very solid in a tackle. He's hard to shake off the ball as well. Yeah, we miss him dearly at Forest, even now. Like, obviously, as much as we progressed, and you always have that, obviously, like, attachment to players in successful teams, don't you?
Yeah.
And it's no different with him. We could all see with him that he's going to go very, very far in football. Same with Jed Spence, but yeah.
Sorry, was there a feeling around Nottingham Forest? I know when you come up, you spent a lot of money on every single player and the dogs, which looks good now. It's worked at the end of the day. But I know when James Garner wasn't touted up and Everton seemed to got him, there was a bit of anger in the Nottingham Forest fans. Like, how have you just not gone and got this kid and let Everton get him?
Basically, United shafted us. So
right.
We were told, well, it seemed that, like, it would be a formality we'd sign Garner.
Mm-hmm.
And then Ten Hag came in and was like, I want him in pre-season with me. And then he took it to pre-season. That was still fine. We were still pretty like, okay, we'll wait till after pre-season because we assume he's not going to be in your plans. We'll sign him then, or try to sign him then. And then after that, it was like, I'm going to keep him on the bench for a little bit longer. And then obviously the season started now. We're digging into the first couple of weeks of the season. We're like, we haven't got a midfield. We need to be signing players. So naturally, we had to sort of, obviously, I know he went quite late in the window to Everton, wasn't it? It's like the last week of the window.
Yeah.
We couldn't afford to wait that long, ultimately. So basically, I think what annoyed us most is that we could see how good he was and talented he was, and Ten Hag was still just messing around, sort of like, oh, will he, won't he? It's like, look at some of the midfielders United have had over the last couple of years or so. It's like, he could walk into that team at times, it felt like. So, but it's their loss and it's your gain. And honestly,
100%.
Good luck to him. I think he should get a very good reception Saturday, and he thoroughly deserve it as well. So, but yeah, so looking forward to the game. One little thing I've also noticed could be potential sort of chink in Everton's armour is that the back four doesn't really seem to like dealing with pace too much, especially on actually young sides.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something? So, let's say, for example, Forest line up with Alanga and Hudson-Odoi. Is that something that could be a bit of a concern for you?
Massively, 100%, mate. Garnacho terrorised Ashley Young. I don't say he terrorised where he sort of was running past him but it was in his head. It's that sort of Ashley Young can't cope with a player who will, and you'll know what I mean by this, but he'll just leave the ball and wait for the defence to move and then go. He can't cope with that. That's where his yellow cards come. He'll just take people out. Alanga is amazing at that, where he'll just stop and wait for the defender. Ashley Young cannot cope. Me personally, and 80%, 90% of Everton fans would want to see Patterson on Saturday, or even
exciting player, Patterson. Yeah.
Well, even Seamus Coleman. Seamus Coleman was on the bench on Sunday. Even if he's got 60, 70 minutes in him, just for that experience. I say experience. Ashley Young's 38, but he doesn't act like a 38. Honest to God, the foul on Sunday was like a 19-year-old. He was terrified of the occasion.
It's like a Liverpool game, wasn't it?
The Diaz one. I don't know why you're flying in like that. There was no question. It was just 2 yellow cards. It was no question. It was a penalty. There's no question. The first one was a yellow card. Garnacho knocked it past you and you volleyed him. On the other side, Mykolenko. I think Mykolenko deals with pacey wingers a lot better than people think, and where he's had his best 2 games against Salah and Saka, he's played really, really well. The one, again, I'll give you the thing, I'm telling you how to beat Everton, I shouldn't really do that, but the Brighton game, Ashley Young, Matoma, just run the game, and it was always going to sort of do something towards the goal, whether it was he scored himself or get the assist. Funny enough, Ashley Young scores no goal, but I really worried about that right-hand side. Jack Harrison does track back. Got to give him his praise. He does track back. Is it enough? Probably not. So I would put Coleman and or Patterson in there and just sort of take Young out completely, because I am honestly worried. And Gibbs White as well. I'm worried about Gibbs White. I think he's a fantastic footballer.
Yeah, we obviously love Morgan for us, as you can imagine. Like, sort of become a bit of a talismanic figure for us recently, and rightfully so. He's just a joy to watch. Like, obviously, massive daredevil. He's very loves a risk with outside his foot or whatever else, but he's just so good on the eye. And yeah, we're very lucky to have him. But how do you see the game going on Saturday? I mean, I'm expecting a tough battle, a physical game, and probably a few Everton goals from set pieces, sadly. But what do you think is going to happen?
Oh, it's such a hard question. If you'd have asked me before the 10 points and before the Man United game, I'd have been confident. Truly, I would have. No disrespect to Forest, but going away, I think was so much better when we go away from home. This will probably sum it up. I would be more worried if we were at home against Forest than we are away.
Yeah, away forwards are quite decent in it, which is quite
it's crazy. So if we can keep the wingers quiet, I would expect us to sort of maybe definitely come out with a draw. Might nick it. Just purely for the fact that I don't know whether if your centre halves could cope with Calvert-Lewin, because he does run a lot. Whether if Anana's fit, he's big, tall, strong lad, barging through. Not many people, no teams can deal with him. If Alanga has the game that use 1 and 2, he will win, and that's pain for me to say. But I just purely for the fact of if Young plays, I'd be a lot more concerned. Yeah, I think I'm going out to watch it, and if Young starts at about 4:30 and I see Young's playing, 25-5, I'll be on the shots, mate. So yeah, that's probably that probably tells you where I'm at. We're actually Young at the moment.
Oh, good. Well, I mean, obviously, I'm sure many of our listeners are hoping that's the case. But can I get a quick score prediction for you before we wrap up?
1-1.
1-1. Nice. I think that we would probably summon our fan base would take that after last week, to be fair. So just get something on the board at least.
Yeah, 1-1 and Luton not winning
that'd be nice. Yeah.
It sounds crazy because we were so far away from them, and we were looking at yous. Honestly, we were looking at how you were getting on in Crystal Palace and Fulham, and now we've got to worry about Burnley and Sheffield United and Luton. It just honestly, it's so disheartening. But
for what it's worth, I think it'll be short-lived, and I think you'll be out there sooner rather than later. But I mean, hopefully that doesn't start Saturday. But massive thank you for coming on, Jay. Much appreciated. And yeah, as for us, we'll be back with our review, whether it might be Sunday or maybe Monday. We're not too sure yet, but we'll be out with you early next week for a 3-game week, which is very exciting. So yeah, thank you all for listening, and come on, you Reds.
This podcast is proud to be part of the talkSPORT Fan Network. talkSPORT. Powered by fans.